Welcome to the SNN.Network Canada virtual event. I'd like to introduce our next presenter, Tim Moore, CEO of HAVN Life Sciences. Tim, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and welcome to all of our viewers. I hope you're having a great conference and appreciate your interest in HAVN Life. Thank you for joining me this morning. I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about my background and my motivation for getting into the psychedelic space. I'm a career packaged goods person, having spent 35 years in that space. I was 18 years at Clorox. I spent 7 years running the North American Brita business, both their retail and their food service business. I got into the cannabis space about 4 years ago, based on personal experience. And before I tell that story, just let you know the end of the story, everybody's fine, but it hasn't always been that case. I've raised 5 sons. My oldest is 36. My youngest is 25. I've dealt with mental health issues with them for the last 3 decades, 2 with anxiety disorder. I had a suicidal 14-year-old. I've one with Asperger's. My middle son got hit by a drunk driver about 6 years ago and was seriously injured. And as a consequence of prescriptions from 2 different doctors, ended up as an opioid addict on Percocet, Vicodin, fentanyl, and something else I don't remember right now. Anyhow, spent a couple of years watching him disappear into his couch before cannabis saved his life, and that was my motivation to get into the cannabis space. But when I saw the promise that psychedelics offer for anxiety, depression, PTSD, anger management, substance abuse, I knew this is the place I wanted to come and spend this part of my career and bring my skills and experience to bear. I believe we're in the industry of hope. I believe that the opportunity for psychedelics to assist millions of people is tremendous, and to provide them with a way to get their life back to normal. Regrettably, with mental health issues, too often the best that someone can do today is find a combination of treatments which could include alcohol and other substances, a combination that gets them numb enough to get through the day. And frankly, I believe that too often leads to suicide. So we're in the industry of hope, and I'm excited that HAVN Life can be a part of it, and I'm proud to take you through our story. So HAVN has 2 distinct paths to revenue. One is based on psychedelics, and the other is based on non-psychedelics, but nonetheless mushroom-based and plant-based products. And we've made significant progress on both of those in the 16 months since we've gone public, where our mission statement is focused around cognitive health and human performance. So in essence, we're a central nervous system company with a focus on a number of different central nervous system issues through both pharmaceuticals, but also nutritional supplements. So as I said, we have these 2 approaches to our business under 2 different divisions: the HAVN Labs, which is focused on psychedelics, specifically building a supply chain of naturally derived psilocybin API to support the industry, and developing dosage to support that. And HAVN Retail, which is very much a traditional packaged goods company, offering a range of nutritional supplements that treat a number of different conditions. To support this diverse strategy, we have a diverse management team and board with skills and experience to support our science team. I've mentioned my background. My Chief Science Officer, Gary Leung, he has a couple of decades in nutritional supplements, having been at Jameson Labs, but he also has experience in restricted compounds. He was in the cannabis space. Ivan Castleman is a Chief Psychedelics Officer, having spent time in abroad, educated. He has 5 degrees, including a PhD in plant compounds, and has an international network of scientists to support him in that. Alex, the chemist, has significant experience in extraction techniques from the cannabis space and has been working with psychedelics to develop extraction and refinement protocols for that. Gordon, our CFO, has a lot of public market experience and brings us a wealth of financial experience. Jenna, our COO, has 18 years in the nutritional supplement space and has been a great operator for us. And Juliana provides quality and regulatory support with significant Health Canada experience, having applied successfully for a number of licenses. On our board, we've got experience that also complements these strategies. Vic Neufeld, having come from HAVN Labs and then laterally Afria in the cannabis space. David Moakler, who has been working with psychedelics for 4 decades. He's with the University of New England. Alan Oberman, who's been in the pharmaceutical space for several decades and ran the Teva North America's business, which is a $13 billion pharmaceutical business. Dennis, who's our chair of our audit committee, has a lot of public accounting experience as well as having worked in the cannabis space. Tim Laidler is a veteran from Afghanistan and has connections with various veterans groups around the world and has been helping us in forging relationships with them. And David King is at King's College in the UK and is a well-known speaker on psychedelics. So as we look at the opportunities in our paths to revenue, we have HAVN Retail, which is both branded as well as private label. We've entered white label agreements and have received our first purchase orders for shipments for companies selling our formulas under their brands. We also are selling our brand both through bricks and mortars, but also online. HAVN Labs is around extraction and supply of API to support academic research, and then eventually as a supplier of API to formulators as psychedelics find approval from the FDA and move forward. When we take a look at why is the opportunity for psychedelics here today, it's really the convergence of 3 major trends. The first is mental health. 11% of the population has some degree of mental health issues, and there's billions of dollars spent on treatment for it, and there's billions of dollars of lost productivity, not to mention the tremendous consequence of loss of life from suicide. And the mental health crisis is growing, not only because of the pressures of life, but also the consequences of the COVID pandemic, which has affected millions of people in a very profound way, whether they lost a job, lost a loved one, had a business go bankrupt, had their wedding plans canceled, had someone in the hospital they couldn't visit, couldn't hold a funeral for a family member that died, whatever it was. They've been, these very acute issues. On top of which, you've just had people that have been, trapped at home for 18 months and trying to live their lives, work from home, help their children do remote schooling, and it's just been incredible. And then we've had the first responders in the medical community that we've been working in battlefield conditions for the last 20 months now. And in my lifetime, I don't remember us having to build temporary morgues or build a hospital in Central Park. And the consequences of that, we're going to see even more mental health issues over the coming months and years. The other trend that we're seeing is the attitudes about mental health. It wasn't that long ago that we just called these people crazy and sent them to asylums and sanatoriums and forgot about them. But we've had decades now of open dialogue. We've had public service announcements. We've had high-profile celebrities talk about mental health. So now it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to say, hey, I'm getting treatment for anxiety. And that's allowing more and more people to come forward and seek treatment and get help. There's also a lot of people that are self-medicating that are trying to deal with it. And further layered into that is people seeking an alternative to pharmaceuticals, who've rejected pharmaceuticals, whether it's been because of weight gain or sexual dysfunction or dependency, and they're looking to plant-based compounds like psilocybin, which does present the opportunity for HAVN Life and other companies in this industry. The third trend that's taking place is public policy makers recognizing these first 2 trends and dealing with that. So, we're seeing things like Oregon and Denver and Ann Arbor and Washington, D.C. and other communities that are decriminalizing psychedelics. That in and of itself is just a harbinger of the changing in attitudes. A more recent change, and I think one that's closer to this industry, is the DEA's recent decision to dramatically increase the amount of psilocybin that researchers can have on hand. The previous limits were frankly impractical, and so they've raised those limits, and it's very much a softening of their position on this drug. and is a great sign as far as I'm concerned. So when we look within mental health, we've got various cohorts that are specific and identifiable. One obvious one is veterans, and it's a regrettable statistic that we've had 4 times as many veterans commit suicide as have died in battle since 9/11. In fact, in the year 2021 already, we've had over 7,000 veterans commit suicide in the United States, more than 22 a day. This has not yet been recognized as a crisis, but I believe it will be. I believe that the industry is going to see governments move forward and identify veterans as a cohort that will be eligible for treatment. And I think that will be a great thing when it comes. Excuse me. As we look forward to how treatments are going to take place, it's really about the development of these formulations to administer psilocybin to people. And what we're going to do at HAVN Labs is continue to cultivate mushrooms, extract compounds, and do formulation, and work with companies that are developing microdosing therapies for clinical trials and new drug development. We have a mycology lab that is operational in Jamaica right now, where we're cultivating and doing extraction. We're building a facility in Vancouver, British Columbia as well. That will be our next and permanent facility. But our opportunity right now is to ship from Jamaica to our supply chain, our supply agreement customers. It's really, frankly, not that hard to grow mushrooms, but it's really difficult and complicated to grow mushrooms in GMP facilities so that they can be used for FDA trials. And we've spent more than a year now in development of protocols and SOPs to do that, and we're now exercising those protocols in Jamaica so that we can be supplying our customers. As I mentioned before, we're taking a look at microdosing, and basically what that means is a therapeutic dose that doesn't cause a psychedelic experience. For those of you that aren't familiar with what a psychedelic experience is, on Netflix there's a show called Goop Labs from Gwyneth Paltrow, and in season 1, episode 1, she takes her team to Jamaica for a psychedelic experience. And you can see in a little over 30 minutes, you can watch the episode and learn a lot about it. And frankly, a psychedelic experience can be a daunting and even overwhelming for patients. And so the promise here is to find a therapeutic dose that provides those benefits for anxiety, depression, and other afflictions without the consequence of a psychedelic experience. And frankly, it's also a better business model to have regular dosage rather than a couple of episodes per year. So where we're headed with this is to continue to build out our facility in Jamaica to increase scale and to ship to our customers, as well as constructing our facility in Vancouver for cultivation and extraction there. We're currently operating in Jamaica because Jamaica treats psilocybin as a functional food rather than as a drug. If you think of coffee has caffeine in it, and one could argue that caffeine is a drug, but it's seen as a functional food. So we're able to cultivate in Jamaica and export to our supply agreement customers. We've already successfully exported from Jamaica to Canada to one of our supply agreement partners, and we're close to having success with exporting into the United States. And it's important to note that psilocybin is not illegal, it's just very highly regulated, and the ability to navigate those regulations to be able to cultivate and extract, export, and to supply the industry actually acts as a barrier to entry. And so we've aggregated the intellectual capital and the administrator skill sets to navigate these regulations, and now have done this successful export and import to our supply agreement customers. And they really comprise 3 different groups of companies that operate psychedelic retreats in places like Jamaica and Costa Rica and Antigua where it's legal, companies that are doing psychedelic-assisted therapy such as Atma Journey Centers in Calgary, which is one of the first company in Canada to administer psilocybin to a patient who's been granted a compassionate end-of-life use exemption. And then the third and the largest group are the companies that are conducting clinical trials, and examples of that would be our agreement with Revive Therapeutics. They're doing their research with the University of Wisconsin, as well as Ally Health, which is going to be doing their clinical trials in Europe. So that's our psychedelic experience. Changing over to our nutritional supplement business, again, we're looking at a large consumer behavior that we're leveraging here. 74% of consumers take nutritional supplements on a regular basis, and that's what we're leveraging, is that behavior with products that are mushroom-based and plant-based to treat various afflictions and can easily be added to a person's daily routine. Within nutritional supplements, functional mushrooms are the fastest growing segment and projected to be $34 billion in sales by 2024. Our product focus is on mindfulness, stress, anxiety, and immunity. We've launched our first 7 SKUs on our own e-commerce platform and with retailers in Canada. We're also shipping to customers in the United States, and we will be on Amazon.com early in 2022. Our first 7 SKUs are visible here. Again, mushroom and plant-based products with a focus on a number of different mental issues, whether it's memory or focus or clarity of thinking. It's regrettable that there's a very high percentage of college students who are on Adderall now to treat, to help them to focus on learning. And there are comparable benefits available from products that don't have the same set of side effects that Adderall has. We've also recently added several SKUs to our portfolio. We acquired the assets of a company with a patent around nutritional supplements that have benefits for traumatic brain injury and concussion. And we're in the process of rebranding those under the HAVN brand name to launch them at retail and on our website. And we're very excited to have these products. They're currently being used by 18 professional sports teams as part of their brain health programs, and have shown tremendous benefit. And we've got some great testimonials from professional athletes that have been using these products after having suffered head injuries. So when we look forward to what's coming next, on the lab side, it's our first export from Jamaica has already taken place to Canada. We'll soon have our first export to the U.S. We'll be getting revenue from our supply agreement partners in 2022, securing our tailor's license for our Vancouver lab, and then just expand scale and capacity to support the growing supply agreements. On the retail side, it's increasing our retail footprint, as well as our web-based access, and adding additional SKUs and functional food to expand that, as well as our white label growth. As I mentioned, we have a customer for Australia, New Zealand, and China that will be shipping early in 2022. Looking at our cap table, we have about 154 million shares on a fully diluted basis. 124 million of those are out right now. We have no debt. We have about 22% of shares are held by insiders. We have a float of about 90 million shares, and we're being very attentive to being careful and cautious and making sure we build a responsible cap table. And with that, we're down to the fine print. I thank you very much for listening. I'm going to take a look to see if we've had any questions come in from the audience here. First question is, where would you like to see the company 2 to 3 years from now? I'd like to see us as a supplier of API to the companies that have successfully completed their FDA trials and have approved programs, as well as having a international nutritional supplement business. Does HAVN Life have enough of a cash runway to fund operations, or will the company need to raise additional capital, and if so, in what time frame? We have been very careful with our cash flow and managing our monthly burn, but we will need to raise capital in 2022 to support the expansion of our retail program, marketing and promotion programs behind that, as well as the research on our psilocybin side. So we do expect to see a raise at some point in 2022. How will high interest rates affect your cash runway? Not really all that much. I mean, we have got some term deposits we can earn some money on, but it doesn't affect us in a negative way. When do you estimate HAVN will become profitable? We are more than a year away from being cash flow positive. I don't want to try and gaze too far into the crystal ball. What differentiates your model from competitors in this space? I think there's a couple of things. First of all, we're doing it. We're not just talking about it. We're the second company to have successfully exported from Jamaica to Canada. We think we're going to be the first company to export from Jamaica into the United States. There's very few participants in the naturally derived psilocybin space. On the nutraceutical side, we have exceptionally high quality products using extracts which provide more accurate dosing and higher bioavailability. And so we feel that we have superior products there that are defendable. Next question says, Shaga is big now on the internet, but I don't see marketing of your product. Will you market outside of your website to bring more customers? Yes, we do have a Shaga product. Yes, we will be marketing it. We've been testing different communication messaging as well as media, and we'll be turning the spending on behind that and to promote our Shaga product. That is all of the questions that we have at this point. If anyone else wants to submit questions, I'm happy to take them, or you can reach out to me on email, tim@havnlife.com, and I'll be happy to answer you directly. Not seeing any more questions, I think I'll say thank you and wish all of you a good rest of the conference, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you very much.